Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. Nobody is coming to save you. I know that might sound hard, but sometimes the truth is hard. You keep waiting on a phone call, a breakthrough, a miracle, a lucky moment, but life does not work like that. The moment you truly change is the moment you accept full responsibility for where you are and where you're going. Once you stop waiting on somebody else, you unlock a power you didn't even know you had. See, most people don't fail because they're not talented. They fail because they don't act. They think about it. They pray about it. They talk about it, but they don't move. And let me tell you something. Faith without work is dead. You can believe all you want, but belief doesn't work unless you do. You've got to force yourself to take action, especially on the days you don't feel like it. Nobody told you it was going to be easy. Nobody promised you comfort. Success is uncomfortable. Growth hurts. Change feels scary. But staying stuck should scare you more than failing ever will. The difference between winners and losers isn't intelligence, it's action. Winners move even when they're afraid. Losers wait until fear disappears, and fear never disappears. You keep thinking somebody's going to show up and fix it. Your parents already did their part. Your friends can't live your life for you. The world doesn't owe you understanding. Life responds to effort. When you move, life moves. When you sit still, life passes you by. That's just the rules of the game. Stop asking for motivation and start building discipline. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline shows up every day. Discipline says, I don't feel like it, but I'm doing it anyway. And when you do that long enough, something powerful happens. You build momentum. And once momentum kicks in, stopping you becomes almost impossible. You don't need approval. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need to decide. Decide to wake up earlier. Decide to work harder. Decide to stop making excuses. Decide to become who you said you wanted to be. Because the truth is simple: if you don't save yourself, nobody else will. Force yourself to take action today, not tomorrow, not next week. Right now, your future is waiting on the move you're afraid to make. Most people want success, but very few want responsibility. They want the results without owning the process. They want the reward without accepting the weight that comes with it. The real turning point in any person's life happens the moment they stop blaming circumstances and start owning their choices. Not your past, not your parents, not your enemies, not the economy, you. When you finally accept that where you are right now is largely the result of decisions you made, something powerful happens. You stop feeling like a victim and start acting like a leader in your own life. Personal responsibility doesn't mean you weren't treated unfairly. It doesn't mean life didn't hurt you. It means you refuse to let what happened to you control what happens next. See, pain is real. Setbacks are real. But excuses don't build futures. Every successful person you admire had a moment where they realized no one was coming to rescue them. That realization wasn't depressing. It was freeing. Because once you understand that the responsibility is yours, the power becomes yours too. You can't change what you don't own. As long as you keep pointing fingers, you give your power away. Every time you say, they did this to me, or I would have made it if, you hand control of your destiny to someone else. But when you say, this is on me, now you can fix it. Responsibility is not a punishment, it's permission to change your life. It means you no longer have to wait for the world to adjust, you adjust. A lot of people misunderstand responsibility. They think it means pressure, stress, or blame. No. Responsibility means clarity. It means waking up knowing your results are connected to your effort. If you don't like your life, responsibility gives you the roadmap to change it. If your finances are struggling, your habits matter. If your dreams aren't moving, your actions matter. If your growth is slow, your discipline matters. That awareness hurts at first, but it also motivates like nothing else. When you take responsibility, excuses lose their power. You stop negotiating with your comfort zone. You stop explaining why today isn't the right day. You stop waiting for motivation and start working with discipline. Responsible people don't feel better than everyone else. They act better. They understand that feelings don't build success, actions do. They show up tired. They work when nobody is clapping. They stay consistent even when progress feels invisible. Personal responsibility also builds confidence. Not fake confidence, but real confidence, the kind that comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, you strengthen your self-respect. And self-respect changes how you walk, how you talk, how you decide. You stop settling because you know what you're capable of. You stop lowering standards because you've proven to yourself that you can rise. The moment responsibility becomes your habit, excuses become uncomfortable. Blame feels lazy. Waiting feels dangerous. You understand that time is moving whether you move or not. Responsible people don't wait for perfect conditions. They create progress with what they have. They know that consistency beats talent, effort beats luck, and ownership beats entitlement every single time. Success doesn't start with opportunity. It starts with accountability. And accountability starts the day you look in the mirror and say, this is my life, and I'm responsible for where it goes. That moment doesn't just change your mindset, it changes your direction. Most people sit around waiting to feel motivated before they do anything, and that's exactly why they stay stuck. Motivation is unreliable. It shows up when it wants to and disappears without warning. If your progress depends on how you feel, your future will always be unstable. Action doesn't follow motivation. Motivation follows action. The moment you start moving, even when you don't feel ready, your energy begins to change. But too many people have it backward. They wait for the spark instead of striking the match. Action is what separates dreamers from doers. Everybody has ideas. Everybody has plans. Everybody says, day, but success doesn't care about intentions. It responds to movement. You don't need to understand the whole path. You just need to take the next step. Clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. Once you act, you learn. Once you learn, you adjust. And once you adjust, progress starts to show. Waiting feels safe because it protects you from failure. As long as you don't act, you don't have to face rejection, embarrassment, or mistakes. But that safety is an illusion. While you're waiting, time is passing, opportunities are expiring, and confidence is shrinking. Fear grows in stillness. It feeds on hesitation. The fastest way to weaken fear is to move directly toward it. Action exposes fear for what it really is, just a feeling, not a fact. You don't need to feel confident to act. Confidence is built after you take action, not before. Every small step forward proves to your mind that you're capable. And once your mind sees evidence, it starts cooperating. But if you never act, your mind never gets proof. That's why people stay trapped in self-doubt. They haven't given themselves a reason to believe. Discipline is choosing action over excuses. It's doing the work when motivation is gone, when progress feels slow, and when nobody is watching. Discipline doesn't care about mood. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It understands that consistency beats intensity every time. 1 hour repeatedly will outperform a single burst of inspiration that fades after a week. Action also builds momentum. At first, it's hard. It feels heavy. Everything resists you. But once momentum kicks in, stopping becomes harder than continuing. The hardest part is always the beginning. That's why forcing yourself to start is the most powerful skill you can develop. Start tired, start scared, start imperfect. Just start. People often overestimate how much action they need. You don't need to change your whole life in one day. You need to make one decision and follow it with one action. Then another, and another. Those small actions compound. They stack. They quietly reshape your identity. One day you look back and realize you're no longer the person who waits, you're the person who moves. Action turns potential into reality. Without action, talent is wasted, dreams rot, and time disappears. The world doesn't reward those who feel ready. It rewards those who are willing to move before they are. Every step you take teaches you something you could never learn by standing still. And once you understand that waiting no longer feels safe, it feels expensive. Waiting has ruined more dreams than failure ever could. People convince themselves that help is coming, that someone will notice their potential, that the right connection or perfect opportunity will appear at just the right time. That belief feels comforting, but it's dangerous. Life does not reward those who wait to be chosen. It rewards those who choose themselves. The moment you realize no one is responsible for rescuing you, your mindset begins to shift from hope to ownership. Depending on external help keeps you passive. It trains your mind to look outward instead of inward. You start measuring your progress by what others do for you instead of what you do for yourself. And the longer you wait, the heavier waiting becomes. It slowly erodes urgency. Days turn into years, and suddenly you're explaining why you never started instead of celebrating how far you've come. The truth is, people are busy saving themselves. Everyone has their own battles, their own fears, their own priorities. Expecting someone else to carry your dreams is unfair to them and damaging to you. When you accept that, you stop feeling abandoned and start feeling empowered. You no longer see the absence of help as rejection. You see it as a signal to step up. Waiting for help also weakens confidence. Each day you don't act reinforces the belief that you can't move without permission or support. Over time, that belief hardens into identity. You stop seeing yourself as capable and start seeing yourself as dependent. Breaking that cycle requires a conscious decision to act without guarantees, without applause, and without reassurance. Self-reliance doesn't mean you never receive help. It means you don't depend on it to begin. The strongest people move first and attract support later, once others see your effort, momentum, and commitment. They're more likely to join you. But help follows action. It rarely precedes it. The world respects movement, not potential. When you stop waiting, your standards change. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I don't try? That shift alone changes behavior. You become proactive instead of reactive. You stop spending time explaining your situation and start spending time improving it. You realize that even small actions done consistently can outperform waiting for one big break. There's also a hidden cost to waiting that people don't talk about: regret. Regret doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing too little, from not speaking up, from not starting, from watching others live the life you imagine for yourself. That regret is heavier than rejection, heavier than failure, heavier than hard work. And once time passes, you can't negotiate with it. Choosing yourself requires courage. It means acting when no one is clapping, when results aren't immediate, and when doubt is loud. But each time you move without help, you strengthen trust in yourself. You prove that you don't need rescue, you need resolve. And resolve changes everything. When you understand that no one is coming to save you, you stop waiting at the door and stop bidding your own way forward. You become the help you were hoping for. And from that moment on, progress is no longer delayed by expectation. It's driven by action. Excuses sound reasonable, but they are expensive. They cost time, momentum, confidence, and eventually self-respect. Everyone has excuses. Being tired is real. Being afraid is real. Being overwhelmed is real. But excuses don't care about your dreams, and success doesn't negotiate with them. The difference between people who change their lives and people who stay stuck is not who has fewer problems. It's who refuses to let excuses make decisions for them. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when every excuse feels valid. It's choosing progress over comfort. Comfort always asks for today. Discipline thinks about tomorrow. Excuses speak softly and kindly. They say, "You deserve a break. Start tomorrow. You've already done enough." Discipline is quieter but stronger. It doesn't argue. It simply acts. And over time, that quiet consistency becomes unstoppable. Most people don't realize how dangerous excuses are because they don't show up as failure. They show up as delay. Delay feels harmless. One missed day doesn't seem like much. One skipped workout, one unfinished task, one postponed decision, it all feels small. But excuses compound just like habits do. What starts as rest slowly becomes avoidance. What starts as patience turns into procrastination. And one day you wake up far from where you intended to be. Discipline creates structure when motivation disappears. Motivation is emotional, discipline is intentional. Motivation depends on how you feel. Discipline depends on what you decide. Feelings change. Decisions shape identity. Every disciplined action sends a message to your mind. I can be trusted. Every excuse sends the opposite message. Over time, you become who your habits say you are, not who your intentions claim to be. Excuses protect the ego but sabotage the future. They keep you comfortable by avoiding risk, rejection, and effort. Discipline accepts discomfort as the price of growth. It understands that growth always demands sacrifice of time, ease, and sometimes approval. Disciplined people don't enjoy discomfort. They simply value results more than relief. When discipline becomes your standard, excuses start to feel uncomfortable. Skipping the work doesn't feel like freedom anymore. It feels like betrayal. You begin to crave consistency more than convenience. You stop asking if you feel like it and start asking if it aligns with your goals. That shift changes how you move through life. Discipline also simplifies decisions. When standards are clear, there's less debate. You don't negotiate with yourself every day. You already know what needs to be done. That clarity reduces mental fatigue and builds momentum. Instead of wasting energy deciding, you invest energy doing. People often think discipline is harsh or restrictive. In reality, it's freeing. It frees you from guilt, regret, and self-doubt. It frees you from constantly starting over. It gives you control in a world that feels unpredictable. When you're disciplined, circumstances don't dictate your effort, you do. Excuses will always be available. There will always be reasons to stop, slow down, or quit. Discipline doesn't eliminate excuses, it ignores them. It understands that progress isn't made on easy days. It's made on the days that show up but do anyway. Every disciplined action, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you want to become. And over time, those votes add up. Excuses fade. Confidence grows. Momentum builds. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Fear feels powerful when you stand still. It grows in silence, in overthinking, in imagination. The mind starts creating worst-case scenarios, replaying past failures, and predicting rejection before it ever happens. But fear is not a warning of danger most of the time. It's a signal that you're standing at the edge of growth. The problem is not fear itself. The problem is allowing fear to make decisions for you. Most people believe fear disappears before action. That's a lie. Fear disappears because of action. When you don't move, fear controls the story. It tells you that you're not ready, not good enough, not capable. But the moment you take a step forward, fear loses its authority. It doesn't vanish instantly, but it weakens. Each action chips away at it, proving that fear was exaggerating. Fear survives on uncertainty and asks what if, and never answers the question, what if you fail? What if you embarrass yourself? What if it doesn't work? But action turns what if into now I know. Knowledge replaces imagination. Experience replaces assumption. And once fear is exposed to reality, it shrinks. Reality is never as scary as what the mind creates in isolation. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's movement in spite of it. Brave people are not fearless, and they're decisive. They feel the same doubts, the same anxiety, the same hesitation. The difference is they refuse to let those feelings decide their future. They understand that fear is a reaction, not a command. Every time you avoid action because of fear, fear grows stronger. Avoidance